what do you think are some of the biggest mistakes or pitfalls that I'm likely to fall into, and how do I not fall into them?
The ones I just told you, like you'll just go too quickly. I think that you've already gotten a bit of experience in film already, and you're in the industry because obviously you're involved in movies and film stuff anyway. But this is a new skill that you want to add, is writing your own scripts, right? What then would happen is that if you then start making good progress, you then get excited and then you go too quick. And then you'll be disillusioned if you start writing this thing and then it's not working. And then you look at it and say, okay, look, I thought I got it. I thought I understood. Maybe I'm not good, or maybe I'm not being told the right things, or I'm not understanding. Then you start getting confused. Then you lose hope. Like you're just like, okay, look, this is not going to work. Because I think sometimes you have what's in your head of what this script is going to be. And then when you start reading your own stuff, it's not translating to what you imagined it was going to be like. That is one of the pitfalls. And I wouldn't even call it a pitfall. It's going to happen. I mean, I believe it's going to happen. Like, I don't think your first draft is going to be anywhere near as good as what's in your mind. Like, it's just not going to be. But what you're trying to do is to make sure you understand why there are problems. And that is what I tell everybody when I'm teaching them screenwriting, is that the moment that I knew I was good at what I do is when I knew that I wasn't good at what I do. That was when I knew. I was like, yeah, man, I'm really good now because I actually know this script is bad. I actually know it's bad. And I know why it's bad, more importantly. So now, before I even send a script in to anybody, people usually say, is like, if you read my first draft, it's like a final draft. Because by the time that somebody's reading my first draft, I've already gone through all of these processes, identified all the problems, identified the issues, identified what needs to be fixed. So my first draft, by the time somebody gets it, it's had 10 drafts. Myself, personally, before somebody even sees the first version. My folder of every script I've ever sold, the average, not even the maximum, the average is 25 drafts, something like that, 22, 25 drafts, something like that, at least 20. The worst I've done is like 45. And I have them in a folder of like, this was the dates, this was this version, that version, that version. Track all of them, but that is the amount of iterations you go through. And if you're new, the biggest pitfall for a new person is not realizing that. Like, just not understanding that, first of all, you're not going to be great to start up with. It's going to take many rewrites to get to anything close to a shootable draft.
Hey guys, sorry to interrupt the video. I'm sure you're learning a lot, or at least I hope you are. I wanted to give you a quick heads up that I have a free newsletter with tips and advice on screenwriting linked in the description of this video. So make sure that you click on that link, sign up to the newsletter, check your emails, make sure that you click the blue button in the confirmation email to make sure that it goes directly into your inbox, and also add the email to your saved trusted contacts to make sure you do not miss a post, okay? And I send a post once every week, once every couple of weeks, but it's also got great insight for you on screenwriting. All right, guys, back to the video.
A lot of people I see, they write a script and they're shooting it next week. It's just one draft. Like, they don't even do 2 drafts. Like, it's just the script. That is one of the big praise, even if it's good, like the amount of progress you could make with something just by identifying any weaknesses, giving it to people to read, being open and honest with, it's huge. It's huge. So that's what I think. Outside of that, based on, like I said, the way that you approach things, I don't think you need to be worried about anything, because I think that you're already coming into this with the right attitude, and you're in a space that is very marketable. And it's so marketable that your script doesn't even need to be that good to be successful, because there's so many buyers for that kind of material at different levels, obviously. Like, it's not like you're doing major studio sales, but there's so many buyers that are interested that if you can create something at a decent level of competency, which you will by the time you're through this, like, I guarantee you, you started in December, by December 2025, you're solid. You're not going to be like a pro, but you're going to be solid. Like there's any question that you're asked, anything, you'll be able to understand what I'm talking about. If somebody even comes to you and says, I would like a script, yeah, maybe you're not ready to be full on commission to do anything, but like you'll really be able to take somebody's information of what they're looking for and be able to break things down in a sensible way and give them a treatment and say that, okay, this is what you want. This is what maybe if I do this, would you like this, whatever. That's where you want to be. Then everything else from that point, like at the end of this year, after you've been in it for 12 months, it's then just a practice. It's just a practice then. You just start getting better and better and better where you're not thinking about as much. So that is the thing you've got to just be wary about now, that don't be too self-critical. Expect that you're going to make mistakes. Don't rush into things because you're making progress. Take things slowly and systematically. You will then avoid those big mistakes. That's it. And then you'll be fine.
Thanks. That's really encouraging. Thank you. And it's so good to know as well, just like what to expect in the drafts. Because in my head, I think, like, as you pointed out, I'm very much like, oh yeah, there'll be like 3, maybe 4 drafts. It's like, no, there'll be like 20. Yeah, that's good to have an expectation of ahead of time.
I'm crazy like that. So I'm like, listen, don't use me as an example of the norm. You're in my community. I just tell you how I do things. And I write very fast. So I'm different from some writers, you know? So I can generate 20 drafts of a script in a few months. I could do that. I can generate a new draft in 3 days. I've done that before. I've generated a new draft in 2 days before. So what I'm saying is like, that's just me, but it also depends on the amount of work I've done on the project, how much I like the project, my outlining, how robust it was, who I'm working for, all of those things play a factor. But I do a lot of drafts because I want it to be watertight. I don't want any questions about what I'm delivering. If you screw it up when you direct it or when it's produced, that's not my problem. I explained that to people. I said, most of the scripts I've sold haven't been produced, like most of them. The ones that have been produced, I produced them independently. But I've still got paid. I've sold consistently for 15 years at many studios in multiple countries as a fact. You know, it's not even like it's just as a fact. So the reality I tell people is like, look, I know people who are in my position as well, and I can testify for myself. Your thing getting produced is not the determinant of your success. The determinant of your success is people wanting to work with you again because they read your work and they say, I've got to hire that guy. Why do I keep selling? It's because people keep buying. So you've got to be doing something right if you keep selling things. Forget about whether it's getting made. Something is good about what you're doing if consistently people are buying your work. And many of these things are completely original. It's not like you're even doing it based on anything, you know? So once you understand that and I convey that to you guys, it's like, please just focus on the quality of what you're doing. Don't think about the money. The money is going to be a byproduct of the quality. And don't focus on whether it gets produced or not. The main thing is you produce quality, and that is going to make you successful because people will keep coming back because they'll look at your scripts and look at everything else they're getting and they're like, this is the guy.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's good to know. I have interest. This is obviously a down the line question, but I'm sure, do you recommend like getting an agent for yourself as a screenwriter, or would you just do everything independently? What do you think?
Oh, no, you should. No, 100%. 100%.
Obviously, we're a bit far away from that for me.
Yeah, no, exactly. And it's getting the agents is the difficulty. That's the problem. 100,000 billion%. If you're trying to be a pro, if you're a writer director, I'd have a different response to you. I'd just be like, yeah, it's helpful. But if you're writing to make your own movies, it's like, it's helpful, but I wouldn't say it's going to kill you if you didn't get one. Because realistically, if you're a writer director who's trying to write to direct your own films, your focus should be getting a producer first. And that's what I would suggest from my personal experience. The first thing I would say is like, dude, get a producer. Try and find a producer, partner with them. They may already have an agent. Whether they do or they don't, you just need someone whose focus is getting financing and packaging projects to get them made and does the runaround for that, packaging a project. An agent is selling scripts. Yes, they could package as well, but even the whole packaging thing is not something that is promoted anymore in Hollywood because of all the problems that came out of people packaging and not really caring about the individual clients. So they're not really doing that openly as much anymore. But realistically, an agent for a writer, yes, like that's a big deal. You know, if you want to be a professional, because that's how I only sold like, how many things have I sold without an agent? 4 things out of like 17, 20 scripts. And those were like in the early days, you know. I think, I did one early with nobody. And then I did one during with I did another one in the middle of that. But by then, people knew me by then. So an executive just called me and said, can you do this? Like, yes, that's different. When you get to a point, you don't need so I don't really need an agent anymore if I don't want one. Like I could potentially, because I have enough phone numbers and contacts and people know me, I could potentially call certain producers and executives and say, I am available. Do you have anything? And because I've worked with them before and they've bought things from me before and the experience was positive for them, if they have anything, I could potentially, or people call me sometimes and offer, you know, and they just say, hey, you know, are you interested? So that's obviously when you've had experience and you sold things. But to begin with, if you're a writer, an agent is a goal. If you're a writer, director, producer should be your goal first.
Okay. Yeah, thanks for that info. It's just good to know. It's nice to just understand the entire big picture in my head whilst I focus on the little segment I'm in.